seen. So in order to do that, I want people to know that they don't have to change themselves for who they are. They should just be who they want to be, and people should recognize that for them, and they'll get included in groups, and people who are like them will want to see them more and want to be friends with them. So this poem is a way of just accepting yourself for who you are. The way you style your hair doesn't go with the clothes you wear, and your round fat cheeks get bigger as you speak. And yes, you must hide every time you want to cry. Whenever you think you're alone, it's better you stay at home. If you're overweight, muscular or strong, in a fashion club, you don't belong. When you smile, you don't look pretty. On your face, other people just pity. And your dress makes you look so dumb. I bet you got it stitched from your grandma. Don't let these things hurt you, because I know you forgot that you aren't defined by the things you're not. At times, people may backtalk about you, all sorts of twisted lies, but instead of being embittered, like dust you must rise. Sometimes, society may want to see you broken, bowed-headed, and with lowered eyes. They want to see you weak and depressed by your tears and loud cries. After everything they've put you through, all the insults and the shame, you should stand strong and confident without feeling any pain. Remember, the torture your haters gave will make you a warrior, not a slave.
Very nice. Very nice. So tell us a little about your poetry work. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Tell us how you got into poetry, how difficult it was. What was the toughest part of putting a book together? I know it's not easy. We've been through it. So.
I started writing poetry in 3rd standard. My English teacher Grande, she started off with writing the word poetry couplets on the blackboard, and then she told us, I'm going to give you all some random lines and you have to rhyme with it. So that was just how couplets are formed. Then from couplets we went to poetry, the structure, and writing a whole poem. And by the time I was in 4th standard, we started writing full poems. And teacher Veena, my English teacher, she used to correct my poems, give me advice, and tell me how I could improve on myself. And at the end of the school academic year, she had written a very small note that I've always remembered. It said, continue writing poems, you're good at this. And then I said, maybe I am good at this, and I should tell Mama I want to write more poems, and she also used to give me topics to write about. And then in school, my new school, Rosary High School, I found it very different from my old school, because in Shiksha Niketan, everyone was they seemed very confident.
Encouraging?
No, they were actually different. In Shiksha Niketan, everyone had the same mindset. In Rosaries, we were very different. They were confident and they always believed in themselves. In Rosaries, no one wanted to opt for things. They didn't want to stand out. So I wanted to be that person. I used to always raise my hand when anyone said, do you want help? Do you want to participate in any event? I said yes. So if anyone asked me, can you write a poem for this chairman or the principal? I used to always give my name, volunteer. So then COVID hit, and that was a bit difficult for me, but it also gave me time to think about what I want to do, how I want to write my poems, and the kind of poems I want to write in future. So with this book, I've only compiled poems that I've written from 8 to 13, and now I want to write another book, like a ballad, poems that tell a story. No, I'm in the 9th standard.
She said a lot. The proud teacher is smiling there. Some more time for some more questions. I want let it be an interaction, not one.
No, I like the way Vimla said she's in a higher secondary, she's still in the 9th standard.
Yeah, because she's a COVID hit, so it's a little
okay. Yeah, no, but she's quite tall also, no, quite.
Very nice, very well thought out, very well explained. And I think institutions like this can play the role of creating a platform. See, because everything helps. You start somewhere, then from a smaller level you go to a bigger level, and of course she's already achieved a lot in that sense for her age. And by any standards, most of us, will not be doing something like that. Any questions to her?
Claire, say, come on.
Once we have the first 2 questions, then we won't be able to stop. But the first 2 are the toughest.
So who edited your poetry?
I didn't want Mama to edit them. She insisted actually, but I said no, because Mama might change things
Fight
here
with
and
them,
there.
don't let them touch your work.
Yeah, and then people say your mother must have helped you become an English teacher. So we went to Dr. Budkule to go through my poems, and she also gave her few words of what she thought about the poem, and then teacher Veena also read through them to give her forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, she would hide her poems because she said, Mama, they are my feelings, my thoughts and emotions, not yours. So please don't. I should say, okay, I won't interfere.
That's correct, no? Because it's something very personal, especially poetry.
Yeah.
I'm saying if there's some linguistic problem and there's wrong grammar, okay, that you can understand. But people feel that they should change your work so drastically, that's not your work anymore. No?
Does your school know about this?
Yes, we had a felicitation program on Liberation Day last month. Yeah.
So which teachers you were talking, Veena and all are teachers in which school? Sorry.
Shiksha Niketan.
Shiksha. So you got the encouragement there.
Yes. My English teachers in my new school didn't know much. I never talked about writing poetry and stuff also. It's now that they all are aware of this.
This is green or red?
Red
Red
roses.
So when you write your poems, what kind of space you prefer for environment?
I prefer writing at night when I'm all alone.
Out in nature?
No. I like to write when I'm alone at night, especially when there's a lot of silence. But sometimes I get inspired by my own family when they make noise and all. I write about them only.
Main culprits are there.
And so we are in the restaurants.
They have all these ideas. No? You should have a notebook and you should note down all the ideas. But one thing which she said, which Sheryann said, which is very interesting, the way teachers can plant a seed, teach you the basics and then leave you on your own to discover the rest of it yourself. And also very often, sometimes one good word from a teacher can change your life because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if Veena tells me I'm good at that, I'll believe it and I'll keep on doing it. Or if she tells me you're a rascal, I'll become a rascal.
Either make you or break.
Yeah. And in our times, I don't know, maybe we are romanticizing the past, but in our time we had some great mentors, great teachers, I can remember Ivan Rocha, I can remember Donald, I can remember teacher Queenie and a whole lot of others in our time. But teacher Shirley, everyone talks about teacher Shirley. And
Teacher Shirley Menezes,
yeah.
my science teacher.
What's your next project?
My next book, I plan on writing poems that tell a story with a moral, but in rhyme scheme only. I could either write on stories that people already know, like the Thirsty Crow or some princess, or I can write on stories that I've thought on based on my imagination. So I want to, include both of them.
I will focusing on a particular level of readers.
I beg your pardon?
Are you focusing on a particular level of readers? Like particular age
An age group? Not really. I don't, mostly I think the people between the teenagers mostly will read my poems, but Mama's colleagues also, they like to read it, so probably 40s also.
So people read.
What was the toughest part in the publishing process? Now you have to edit out where I feature as a bad guy, but you can tell the rest of the story.
I think the most difficult part was seeing which poem needed more editing, which one needed to be improvised on. And I used to ask Mama. Mama used to have her own ideas. I used to have my own ideas. So we used to often argue about that. But at the end, we came to a conclusion and we wrote whatever we thought was correct. And then the editing was based on what we felt.
This is not sales talk for me, but today the printing process, see Glenn's dad and Glenn have been into big presses like Printwell Press, which published Goa Today for many years, decades. Today the printing process is a bit simpler because if you want, you can print a few number of copies. So they have something called print on demand where you can print a fewer number, but the cost per copy goes up. So if you want to print say 10 copies of your grandmother's recipe book, you can theoretically do it. But there's a lot of trouble in terms of, getting the text down and editing the work and making sure there are no mistakes, proofreading, cover design and all that. How many copies if I'm not being inquisitive?
I'm not sure.
100, more than 100?
First we printed 100 and then
Then
another.
again we asked.
Okay, so they are printing in batches of 100. So what happens is that it becomes easier to manage a book because selling 100 copies is not very difficult. With your friends and family circle you can manage, but earlier we had to print minimum of 1000. Even if we want a good rate, cheaper rate, we have to print in 1000. So selling 1000 copies can be difficult, and poetry is always treated as the last kind of last preference because publishers believe, maybe rightly, that poetry doesn't sell as much. But in some places in Bombay, in India, like in Bombay, they have started a group called Poetry Wala. I think I had mentioned it to you, where they have built a community of poetry fans. So supposing there are 20 people who love poetry and today I write a book out of solidarity and support, you will buy my book and tomorrow I'll buy your book, that kind of thing. So they built a market. We should also think in terms of, say, some poetry circle if there are more people interested, even if there are 4 or 5 people to start with. You know, you plant a seed, tomorrow it can grow into a big tree. Please feel free to interact. I'm just filling the space.
Do you make handwritten notes or you straight away class?
No, first I write it by hand, then I type it on the laptop.
In night time?
Sometimes during the day also, like when I have a deadline, like school tells me, okay, you have to write it now only. So I write it that time, give it to them, and then I take the hand copy at home and I edit it a bit.
How many days do you take for editing?
Not many days.
Change, you make changes.
I recite it to Mama, and if she finds there's no error, then I don't edit at all.
And Mama never changes your ideas.
No, she only tells me, you could improvise here, and then I say, leave it to me, I'll do the rest.
And in terms of poetry, do you believe that you have to be born a poet or can you learn to become a poet?
It depends, because usually people who like poetry are into reading, they like to read novels, they like to read poems, they like to read autobiographies. So if you're into reading, especially in your native language, then probably you'll be good at poetry.
So you read a lot?
I read, but I actually watch more than I read.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's the same thing.
Mama Dada say you don't learn much from TV, but I think most of what I've learned is from TV only.
See, the generations are changing over the years. There is one prediction that in 200 years, reading will be a dead art. You won't need to read to be literate anymore. But in our younger days, I always tell people, I thank that table in my book. Because of that table, we got a chance to read like magazines like Illustrated Weekly, Time magazine, and Times of India. 3 or 4 magazines, not too many. Times of India used to come 36 hours late. These walls, Time from the US. These walls were filled with books gifted by the Saligao Institute in Bombay. And every Saturday between 3 and 5 it used to be opened, if you remember. But of course, books are a usable commodity, so if you don't use it, you lose it. After one fine day, all the white ants ate everything. So we got rid of the cupboards and everything. But we learnt a lot. I think reading is important. It does help.
Who is your favorite poet?
I don't read poems. I read books sometimes.
But why? How you can say that? I take objection. I take strong objection.
I never read poems. I only, like Mama sometimes or Dada, they say, look, some nice poem is being circulated on WhatsApp. Just see if you get inspired by it. At the most, only that much. Or maybe on my school magazine, there are some people in my age group who write poems. And I say, wow, even I could write like this.
Wency teaches English, no?
I teach English.
You think they should read? They should,
I
sorry.
beg your
Own style.
I feel you should also be different styles.
Improve your language.
Just change, perhaps you go on to something else.
I agree strongly with Veena. See, because
Try to be sometimes.
Actually, before teacher Nisha's demise, she was telling us how she could have introduced free verse poems. She said you should always try, and if you do get the hang of it, you could show me one day, but I was never able to.
Claire has a point, but all art is derivative. Whatever we think is very original, I think my writing is very original, but it's some idea at the back of my mind, which I have got from somewhere else and I'm applying somewhere else. So in that sense, it's very important to know who else is writing your genre in that sense. What other people are doing. So if you are writing drama, you look at other dramas. It might influence you also. Not a bad thing in time.
No, probably she feels, I don't know, maybe these are her inborn skills or something like that. She feels I don't want to adopt ideas from elsewhere. Oh, they should be my own. Because that's the feeling she gives me when I tell her something, she doesn't like interference.
No, I can understand.
Yeah,
Once
it's
you
my
have
own.
written, you have written, then it's your baby. Every
Correct.
word is important. Okay, that I can understand. But in terms of influences, I will read a whole lot of newspapers to know how other people are writing. Maybe subconsciously I'm also copying them. Okay, I'm admitting. But you can learn a lot. I feel.
Yeah, like, it seems like at her age,
Original, very original. Also the point what Sheryann made of schools teaching poetry. See, our run-of-the-mill schools, general schools which we went through are too clogged with the syllabus and with the pressures of work and all that. They don't have time for this. But at the end of the day, it is these skills that will give you something unique. Like for example, Jade has been into blogging and she's made a career out of it and a profession out of it. So these are the skills which we need to encourage the next generation to take up to.
I didn't know about that. She was my student. Is it Jade?
You can claim 2% credit
Yes.
also.
Jade, DL.
So Jade will tell you about, sorry for pushing you. Tell us in just a little about the work you do. She has a full-fledged office in Donvado.
But that's different. My blogging has nothing to do with my office.
But it one grew out of the other, no? In a way. Okay. I'm wrong. But tell us about your blogging and this is more corporate writing.
Taking the spotlight from Sheryann.
No, she won't mind it.
So I started blogging because it was just an outlet, it was just a creative outlet. When I moved to Mumbai, I lived alone. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't do anything on my own actually over here. So over there I started doing a lot of stuff and I started documenting it. So that time blogging wasn't a big thing. It was maybe 10 years ago. It was very new in India. So I kind of documented it and it grew from there.
And that of course brings us to the next question of what could we as a community, as a village, as a group of people do to build these skills. See, because Saligao is not second to any place, I believe, in terms of its base, of its skills, there are people in every second house who have something to teach us here. The challenge is how to drag them and how to convince them to come here. In Red Rosary, I think there were 5 teachers from Saligao at one stage, 5 or 6.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, primary section.
When Jane, is that the Green Rosary?
No.
Sabrina, Connie.
No, Connie and all were there. Connie and all were there.
No, in the other Rosary also now, very recently, Jane and Adriana. Yeah. So teachers are plenty. Sorry?
That's Green Rosary.
I'm confused.
No, that's Green Rosary where Jane is there, Adriana.
So we have teachers, we have music people, we have writers, we have artists. Before Giselle went, I got a copy of a book called Floriata Saligao, which talks about the great people of Saligao in the 70s. Anyone wants a copy? I've digitized the full book, it's free. So just send me a note, I'll send you a copy. The full book talks about the achievers of Saligao in 1971, written by Giselle's granddad. And the list is amazing. Yeah. Ours is the only village, I always boast, which has 7 or 8 or 9, now 10 maybe books published by villagers.
Which is
We have 10 books on Saligao and written by villagers. Starting from Father Nasiman, I'm not counting his other books, I'm only counting Saligao. Then Father John, then Clarice, Yvonne, Giselle's granddad, Hubert D'Souza. Okay, J.B. Pinto who lived here, 1961 he's written. That's not on Saligao, it's about immigration. So please come with your ideas, with your suggestions. If anyone would like to say anything, because I've been jamming the airwaves too much, please say. Morris, I guess you all know Morris, for those who don't know. He's come from the United Kingdom. Morris is very active on cyberspace. He's been in touch with us for years, but we meet up here.
You got my new email address.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Can't forget. Please, we need your support and suggestions for ideas to take it forward at any stage. And we are very open. We don't have... so at the moment there's dance classes going on here. Karate was supposed to start, but they had a shortage of students, I think. And in the market.
Dance classes also.
Yeah, this time it's picked up. This month it's really picked up.
How can someone outside this
See, we are pushing for memberships. Okay, we are pushing for memberships. Everyone from Saligao is entitled to take a life membership, which costs 25,000. You don't get any great benefits, we shamelessly say, but you are supporting the institution.
I know you put something on
Yeah.
support.
The other thing is also in terms of activities, if you get some good interesting activities here, even private functions, it's open to private functions at a fee, but otherwise, interest functions of wider interest, we are only too happy to host. I was convincing Glenn that he should do something about Printwell Press. His brother Norman Dantes, for those who don't know, was a prominent journalist, and in fact our guru. He was senior to us by a few years, but crucial years, and he was a mentor to us.
Vilma, you remember Norman? Yeah, we are neighbors.
That's right.
In Grande.
I see. That's why you have to be attendant, present today. So Norman played a big role in publishing. He died very early, unfortunately, at the age of 44. But he was associate editor of Goa Today, and also we've had lots of people into writing from this village itself, in Bombay, all over the place, no? Yeah. Albert de Cruz, Alfred de Cruz in Times of India. Who's? Savio. No, but even in the past generations, you can go back 80, 90, 100 years, you'll still find, and I feel that good schools, including Matade in those days, have shaped a generation of people. Victor Angel Ribeiro always says, I lived my younger days in Saligao. And he tell you which house he stayed in and things like that. Any suggestions for events? Can you please, anyone has any suggestions what we should be doing? We'd like to.
Thank you so much.
Celso, just say 2 words on the quote now.
Okay, actually,
Just one.
we're going to develop infrastructure. You see awards and we got even bring on a fund